What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 120 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today, of course, is Noxious. What's up, buddy?
Not much. The regular Hearthstone streamer life and caster. Just was a Dreamhack recently.
Yeah.
And
nice.
back home.
Did a good job at Austin, man. It was good. Good seeing you on the, all dressed up and in the middle, playing around Meteor is like what everybody was saying there.
Yeah, dude. I'm the shorter caster. Put me in the middle, so that way Meteor doesn't hurt the caster line up too much, right?
Yeah. I think that was about the funniest thing I saw all weekend.
It was a good one, honestly.
Oh man, so good.
People always step around the topic so much. They're like, I don't know if it offends you, but short jokes. I'm like, I don't care. I don't give a crap.
We want to welcome back to the show, Jackie. How are you doing, man?
Hello. Yeah, great to be back. I've been away for a week, so I haven't been playing that much lately, but got back a couple of days ago and been memeing as usual, trying to try out as many wacky things as I can.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. What is that in the background? You have a Pac-Man?
Is
that a puzzle?
Pac-Man lamp. Yeah, which my
oh, nice.
It used to be a lamp, but it broke, and so it doesn't light up anymore. My chat named it Lulu.
Wow.
But yeah, we keep it there. I also have a
that's cool, dude. You got Mario.
A Mario cube.
What is it exactly? Is it a light?
Yeah, it is a light. I haven't plugged it in.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's nice, man. It's always cool to see what everybody has on their shelf in the back. Like Noxious has a bunch of games and things in the back of his too. I've got nothing. That's why I've got a green screen.
Yeah, you saw that out.
I could put a bookshelf behind there. Let me see. Here we go. There's my bookshelf. It's like a little bit fuzzed out though, but we got lots of stuff to talk about today, guys. We have obviously the Wild, Tavern Brawl and all that stuff that's going on right now. Even some more Wild news. But we're going to start things off by talking about just what we've been doing in Un'Goro this week, any kind of cool decks we've been playing. Then going to continue our spotlights that we've been doing with the classes. So we're going to be doing Mage, as well as talking about Dreamhack, which Noxious is just coming back from, and lots of great matches and even some decks that were surprisingly dominant during the tournament that we'll talk about. And lastly, we'll do Q&A, of course. You guys email your questions to valuetown@chanmanv.tv. During the week or today, and we will get to them as we see them. Okay, well, why don't we start off actually, before we do that, I want to mention that this episode of Value Town is sponsored by Ting, as well as all the Patreons that we have supporting the show. But Ting's a U.S. cell phone provider that provides nationwide LTE access using both the T-Mobile and Sprint networks. They don't have any kind of contracts. There's no plan, so if you don't like any of those type of set rates, signing on for 2 years and all that good stuff, Ting is going to be really, really great for you. And they also charge as, they're like more of an a la carte thing. So like as you're using data, that's all you have to pay for. You don't have to pay this, $50, $60, $70 data plan and only use a little bit of it. So if you're one of those people that has like a lot of excess data and messages on your plan, then Ting's going to be perfect for you. So go check out to see if your phone works with Ting, because it works with, I think, 80-85% of all the phones. You can go to value.ting.com and check that out. Type in your number, and then it'll figure out if it works or not. And then you get a promo code, which is for $25, which is usually a free month on Ting. So pretty good deal. Pretty good value, guys, on Value Town. So
yeah, I mean, if I lived in the U.S., I'd probably be with Ting for mobile plans for sure. But I live in Canada.
Yeah.
And Ting is not there yet. So for now, I have to settle.
I don't think Ting...
settle with whatever's available, man.
Ting's not in the UK either, right, Jackie?
I don't know, mate, but I'd love a bit of value in the UK.
Exactly. We all could use a little value. But everybody in the U.S., go check that out for sure. Okay, our week in Un'Goro. So, I mean, Jackie is he is like the perfect guy to have for this segment, because he is always trying. He's like us, but he actually, plays better decks than us a lot of times. We usually play some wacky, janky decks. But what kind of decks have you been putting together this week? Anything cool?
Well, last season I actually finished the lowest rank I've ever finished. It was something like 20. Like, did you see how many legends there were?
It
last
was like,
season?
There were 30,
25,000.
It's nuts,
like, it was
man.
crazy.
When you've got,
I finished about like.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I finished like over 20,000 because I was just super addicted with Barnabas Druid. The Druid quest.
Yes. Oh my god.
God.
You actually played Barnabas Druid?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying loads and loads of different versions of it, and some of them
Yeah.
were not so terrible. But
Wow.
yeah, I did drop a lot of ranks with it.
Man,
It's all right.
Barnabas,
They don't matter.
Exactly.
Ranks actually don't matter unless you're trying to go for the HCT circuit, the hardcore. They don't matter.
Just get to legend
I mean,
and just
That's
be
how
happy,
I tell
right?
myself. That's how I like Hearthstone, when ranks don't matter.
Ranks don't matter. So Barnabas, for you are wondering what Barnabas even is, because you probably haven't played it, given that the Druid Quest, it hasn't been one of the better ones. It's the reward for the Druid Quest, which is a 5-drop 8/8 beast. Reduce the cost of minions in your deck to 0. So it's like Aviana on steroids, basically. And that's crazy that you were able to make that work. What did you do? Anything kind of, I don't know, any kind of nuance that was...
Well, there was a couple of different ways I tried to do it. I was doing it with, first with like beasts and trying to pull off like Volcanosaur with like the Menagerie Warden. Because when there's 0 mana, you can just do ridiculous things with them.
Right.
But then I also went to more of a defensive style of deck with like Arakoas and Ancient of Wars. And there's actually some minions that have 5 attack that are better than you'd think they are. Like there's I think it's called Hog Rider or Spiked Hog Rider.
Oh yeah,
that
5 mana.
Yeah.
And it's a 5 and a 5/5, and it gains charge if your opponent has a taunt. And there's a lot of taunts.
There's a ton.
Right now.
There's a ton of them. Yeah.
It's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good.
Wow. Okay. I might have to dabble in that a little bit. I mean, I loved the what was it? The Frozen Anaconda Druid. You know, a few weeks ago. I was playing that a
the
ton.
Ram Druid.
Yeah, that was so
Anaconda.
fun. I mean, that was definitely a lot of fun. So this is a little bit different, but I might have to try it. I mean, one of the things I was trying, and I mentioned it to Jackie, it was, you know, what I do a lot of times is look for these 2-card combos. And then I try to just see if I can build a deck around it. And one thing I realized was really cool was Doppelgangster and Spirit Echo.
Oh,
And just
God.
just the value you get from it. Because, you know, for each one of those doppelgangsters, they're actually doppelgangsters. So you end up getting 3 doppelgangsters back, you know, once you Spirit Echo.
Oh, doppelgangsters.
Yeah. So I was doing that. I've been trying to figure out a deck that works, but it's hard to figure out whether you go fast or, you know, with Bloodlust, or whether you go more value. Because Shaman's so weak in the beginning, like right now. If you don't, you know, you get run over by all the aggro decks if you don't have enough in the beginning. So been still trying to balance that. I haven't really figured out the right path yet for it, but you know, when you have things from below and Doppelgangster, you can have some amazing echo value. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing similar things, as you know, with the Control Shaman, right? Spirit Echo with things from below, and
Yeah.
I actually cut out the Jade package. I think it's quite bad in that deck.
I was thinking about doing that too.
I think the Jade pack is just not good in Control. I mean, it's not that it's not good, but it's just not good enough. And that's what surprised me the most. You know, I've had more success playing without Jades in Shaman Echo than I have with. So I'm now a proponent of saying goodbye to Jades. But, I mean, you make your matchup against Taunt Warrior worse, and we all know how fun fighting that is in, you know, baseline. So
how do you guys get out of the early game for Shaman? Because, you know, with this whole Doppelgangster...
You hero power.
Well, this thing with the Doppelgangster and the Echo thing, like, I almost beat every single control deck. It's crazy good at the end of games, you know, when you have Bloodlust, right? But the thing is I can't survive that beginning, you know, whether it's Hunter or it's just even the Mage, even like an aggro Mage and things like that. It's hard to get through that period without losing too much health that your Jinyus can't even save you. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that balance. But I feel like there is something there, though. I just can't quite.
Infinite AoE, man. Like, he's just a hero power until you Volcano. I've been playing double Hot Spring Guardian everywhere, basically. I don't know if that's something you've tried.
Yeah, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just
double Hot Spring, double Jinyu just wins. It does, because the thing is, like with Shaman as it is, it's actually kind of weird because it's all about buying time. I think more so than anything else. And that's what Shaman, like, we're not used to just being super passive with Shaman. We're so used to developing board.
Yeah.
But I think the proper way to play Control Shaman is be as passive as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get one good value clear, then you get another one, then you start getting echo value on everything. Yeah. Like, the health restoration is massive. Double Jinyu, double Hot Spring with Kalimos at 8. And you've got so much healing. It's insane.
Well, Kalimos is situation. I mean, you have to build a deck that makes Calamus.
Do you think elemental?
Well, that's what I'm
control-
running. That's what I'm running. Elemental control.
Elemental control.
Yeah, with the echo on the things from below and on the servants. That's
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
I
almost
see,
too
I
much
see.
value. You don't even know what
Yeah.
to do with it. Like my hand is full of stuff, and I'm just like,
Yeah, when you win games,
I can't
just
hold my value anymore. I feel like a priest.
you win games with 3 Calamus still in your hand, kind of.
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
yeah. I know what you mean by that. Jackie, I know you've played a ton of like shaman and control shaman, especially. Anything you figured out has been the best way to at least navigate the beginning?
I mean, there's cards I think people don't play that much that you can still play, like Stormcrack. Like it's kind of an interesting card. That
Okay.
the main issue with it though is that Shaman has so many strong turn 3 plays, and it stops your turn 3 play. So it's only really good when you're on coin.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the time when you're playing control Shaman, you kind of just go accept like Maelstrom or just hero power. Like, I think it's just an acceptance.
Right.
Like I mean, Doomsayer is an option, but
It's never consistent though,
favorite
man.
at the moment.
Doomsayer. It's like you have those games like 50-50. Those games where it's amazing and you have it on turn 2, and then there's those games where it just doesn't do anything for you.
yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I thought anyway that was the discovery that I kind of was playing around with this week and trying it out. It's awesome when you get like 5 doppelgangers. It's so fun.
yeah,
But
definitely got to try that.
Yeah,
Noxious, in your elemental control Shaman, are you playing Jade Claws and like a bit of Jade stuff?
Not even 0. I actually cut out entirely all the Jade package. I'm running Nazoth at the top end, you know, for
Yeah.
Wide Eyes. So I mean that helps a lot. You play double Igneous Elemental, Blood Mage, and Nazoth. I mean, you could probably fit Jade Claws just because they're so good against aggro.
Yeah.
Like that's one of those things where you just play it because it's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's such a strong card.
But I have not found that I needed to yet.
yeah.
I mean, it would certainly help against some of these weird hunter openers. But against Pirate Warrior, for instance, like I already can't afford to face tank. So just because the thing is, Shaman has the big upside of if you have a totem, they have to respect it. Like
Yeah.
that, the hero
Yeah.
power is actually really valuable because it's essentially a priest hero power for self healing, while also giving you board and reducing the cost of the thing
Yeah.
from below. So it's one of these really good hero powers in terms of what you're accomplishing with it, right? So you're putting up pressure at the same time as you're putting up the threat of a taunt on Pirate Warriors. They don't want you to let you keep those minions on the board. If you have Flame Tongue, you're threatening that as well. If you get the spell damage Maelstrom, they freak out. So like everything that comes up increases the odds of you getting a good play, and so they end up just removing them as you go. So that's kind of what I found.
Yeah, I think the hero power, especially against control, like anything slow, they have to respect it because Bloodlust has been being played these days, so they have to get rid of that stuff. It works really well against control, but the aggro is where it's like, okay, I mean, you do heal for 2, like you said, but overall, it's just like you still have to hit those big minions at the end or get that volcano in your hand, right?
You could always play. I mean, I've seen and played myself Gluttonous Ooze in the deck as a 2-of.
Yeah, seen more of that too.
For a while. Like that's helped a ton in some matchups.
Yep.
But you're also diluting the strength of the top end. One of the big things too is I'm still not sure if I want, for ladder purposes, 1 or 2 Spirit Echoes. Because 2 Spirit Echoes just wins. Like it just tears apart control decks. But then if you run the 1 against control, you lose more. But against aggro, suddenly you have an extra tool. And I'm just not sold yet on the 1-of, because the more I play 1-of, the more I just lose to control automatically, and that feels like crap.
It's usually a choice between Spirit Echo and Ancestral Spirit, right? Like you play one or the other.
No. For me, it's more like, do I want another? Like, do I want a Jade Claws or a Spirit Echo? Do I want a second Hot Spring Guardian or a Spirit Echo? Do I want Farsight? In that deck, you can set up some really sick.
Yeah. I see.
Board clears.
Yeah, Farsight is great if you have some like combo stuff in your deck. Like I was playing Crusher Shaman recently with like Faceless Shamblers and all that kind of thing. Turned out to be terrible, but Farsight's great and like that kind of thing.
Banish anyone. I'm just like, I had somebody, Zele, I think, was asking us about that. Before we move on to the topic of the day, Zele was asking us about Spirit Echo and why we thought it was good. And one of the big answers I gave is, I usually don't play Spirit Echo. I don't go minion Echo. I go minion. Then they leave some alive. Then I echo and trade them away. Because if you give them the time to respond, they just deny them. It's just some decks just are able to punish you for that.
There's a lot of cases where Spirit Echo, you have to. you have to resist the urge to be too greedy with it, because sometimes just getting some of the totems works out great, or some of even the smaller minions. Even getting another flame tongue is nice if you can use it early. But that's different, I guess, for your deck. Your deck is more late game and relies on getting multiple copies of probably White Eyes, right? Given that you're playing N'Zoth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
White Eyes like the prime target.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know that this week, Noxious, you were at Dreamhack Austin, so why don't we kind of transition over to that? And Dreamhack Austin was the open tournament that Dreamhack always hosts, and it's a Swiss tournament. I believe that this tournament, and we were talking about last week, I believe this tournament could have been one of the toughest tournaments ever in Hearthstone, at least ever open, LAN kind of tournament. And the field was just completely packed because everybody was trying to get points. This cutoff point is a little bit hairy as to what it's going to be this time around. So everybody was trying to give themselves the best chance. So yeah, Noxious, how was the entire weekend? Getting a chance to cast and see all the players.
Honestly, it was just a blast. It was nice to see. I want to say a repeat of last year's Dreamhack Austin, but like the timing is kind of similar, right?
Yeah.
And it's like after the expansion, a lot of iterating on deck ideas, and we had, with HGG ongoing, some decks that were showcased prior, but I feel like this is the event where people, because of the last year's standing format, get to explore a bit more than Conquest lets them. And frankly, I was really happy to see the overall diversity that was present, and how many people had different approaches, right? Like some people thought Hunter was good still. Some people said, you know what, this is not worth bringing. And even in the top 16, if you look at the roster, we had a bit of everything. Even Priest was present with Hunter, Paladin, Mage. We had every class, I believe, in the top 16.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, given how many events we've seen where it's like, hey, there's 4 classes and one's getting banned.
That's true.
Like, so unfun. So it was really great to see 9 instead of just,
yeah,
3 or 4.
just like even 4, even 4 or 5. Jackie, did you catch any of it by chance? I know you were kind of.
No, I've actually been away, so I wasn't able to catch any of it. But I'm interested to. You're saying all 9 classes were played. I think Warlock is one of the least favorite.
Oh, sorry, I lied.
8
8 classes.
Oh, was there no Warlock?
You caught me there. You're absolutely correct. I'm full of shit, Jackie.
One? I don't think anybody played a Warlock.
I mean, they probably got eliminated in the Swiss round.
Yeah,
they did.
I mean,
I know somebody brought
16.
Zoo that I spoke to, but I'm pretty sure they performed awfully given how good the class has been recently.
Yeah.
But honestly, can we just appreciate that that's a fact, right? For so long, we've been hammered with the constant repeat of live tap is broken. Live tap is broken. Chant it with me. And now it's like live tap doesn't matter. Your class sucks. So
this
it's
I don't know. I don't think the Warlock's like dead in the war. I think some kind of discard could see play at some point.
It's okay, but like, what does it do better than Murloc
it's
Pally?
just-
Like,
I mean, it's one of those decks where it's super high rolly. Like, if you play your 3/8 taunt and discard Silverware Golem and Zavas or whatever it's called, like, you just win the game. But then if you discard your Doom Guards, then you just lose the game. Like, it's super like high rolly.
yeah, and then the thing is that every class has like a consistent way to punish you, right? Like Quest Rogue doesn't care at all about your memes. So they backstab and just, clean up your board a little bit, and then they eventually vanish everything. So you have to rediscard your entire hand. That sucks. And then, like, that's a big deal. Prep vanish kills discard log. It's just like, well, I guess I lose my entire hand again.
Yeah.
Then you've got...
well, they have... it's weird. I mean, I think it's going to take another expansion for Warlock to be good, but they have that conflicting thing. It's like, because there's some of the cards that you want to discard, like Silver Golem, and then there's some cards you just don't want to discard because of value. Just generally speaking, you don't want to discard cards. So you have this weird dynamic, and it's continuing on. Like the theme with the discard continues on. So it's really difficult to navigate that, and it's like, why even navigate that when I can just play another class that's kind of similar? I don't have to use this crazy high skill cap to play it proficiently.
Yeah, but I'll say one thing about Warlock, though. The whole idea of discard, while on paper, if you give them bigger and bigger things to discard, like what if we gave him an 8/8 that when it's discarded, spawns itself on the board? Like
Jesus.
that would, you know,
Yeah.
but no, but at some
That
point it's
sounds
like, how much do
something
you
they would do?
how much do you want to push the deck, right, to where it becomes a matter of just pushing big stuff? And I think it would be more, I wouldn't say appropriate, but interesting if instead of discarding random cards, it was just like the leftmost card, the rightmost card, so you could like toy around with your
could be
you know, the
interesting, yeah.
timings of your cards, and
Mhm.
kind of like the elemental, where sometimes you hold for one turn because you want to get a turn 5, you know, servant and whatnot. I would have loved that. So while
idea.
I appreciate their quest trying to push the archetype into viability, it's the same problem as Galvadon. I commit so many resources, 6 cards effectively, right? Barring silverware shenanigans, which equate to the value the paladin gets out of its buffs, and then you're asking me to pay 5 mana to get the effect off. You're asking for a lot here, and
Yeah.
I think that's the big issue, is that there's no immediate impact, and you can't extract value from that 5 mana. You know, Quest Warrior, what does it do? Plays a weapon, extracts value from it, kills something with a hero power, value gotten.
Yeah.
I pay 5 mana, I get a dude that has to wait 1 turn to do anything. I'm dead to Volcano, I'm screwed on Vanish, I'm screwed on Freezes, I'm dead to Dragonfire Potion, just name it. And so every, like, even the quest for like, let's just put it that way. If I can get a 6/4 worth of stats at the end of a turn over 2 bodies, right? Why is Rogue able to turn 1/1s into +4? Like, they have a Blessing of Kings on everything instantly, and that's kind of how I compare both. And I think the payoff is a lot bigger on one side.
Yeah, I mean, we're, you know, like, excluding the quests, because the quests are not equal. I mean, all the quests across the board are not equal. Some of them are
I mean, I think if discard lock was to see play, I don't think it would include
yeah. So discard, I think itself is a good foundation. Like, it's a good foundation that has the ability for high skill cap, good deck. It's just the pieces aren't completely there yet. I mean, when they first introduced discard, it was played in just, it was made to be just in addition to the existing zoo. And I think right now they're trying to, you know, build it even further so that it ends up being something, I don't know, maybe something that's similarly played. I wouldn't say exactly the same, but it would get a feel of like a rogue deck, you know, the rogue deck with like Shirazin, the Miracle Shirazin deck, right? Where it's just like, okay, you kind of plan out like your turns and things like that. I think they want you to be able to plan out discards and then play around with things that you did discard and bring them back on the board and stuff like that. It's just they have to figure out what that power level is, and I don't want them to bring back an 8/8. Like, I don't want it to be that kind of thing. I want it to be more
I mean, if they give them like a
combo
Draconid operative style thing.
Sure, that'd be great.
And it could be like, you know, pushed over the.
Oh yeah, and you could discover back what you discard. Yeah, that'd be cool. I like that.
How about a card that just works off of your hand size, like the other way around than Giant? Because that's the problem we're running into. Is that the way they're implementing this card is all play card discard. The other one says get played, right? Or like stay in your hand with Clutch Mother. Like, they tried Dinomancer, right? Dinomancer was supposed to be this mid-range way. Like, so Dinomancer reminds me of Princess Uhuron, where they're like, if this is broken, we don't want to print a good card. Right, it's like that pushes it over the edge. And the next expansion, or like 2 expansions down the line, they print a 3/3 with the same effect.
Right.
And they just go, all right, guys, let's go. Like, just Dinomancer for 3. And suddenly people are like, oh, we can disco lock, you know, whenever, because now we get back the stuff that we lose that we don't want to discard. True. And it's obvious Dinomancer was supposed to be to cover the angle of, oh no, I discarded my Doomguard. What do I do now? Well, bring it back. Except, you know, at 6 mana, like, what the hell? The games don't even last that long sometimes.
And it's not even a battle cry; it's a death row, which makes it.
Exactly.
If it was a battle cry, I think it would actually be like.
Man, we should have done our spotlight on Warlock this week.
But,
I know, it's like, God, we just like went down a rabbit hole there. But bringing it back just to Dreamhack Austin, you know, one of the big news, or one of the big stories, was that Tempo Storm as a team was just like kicking ass, and they actually ended up having 3 people in the top 16, and then 2 people in the top 4, right? So unfortunately, they both got you know, knocked out right before the finals. But overall, you know, I feel like with that deck, or at least with the team, it seemed like the Mage that they were running, which, you know, we're going to be talking about today, just generally the Mage. The Tempo Mage especially, I think Reynad was running that very, very aggressive Tempo Mage, ended up having a lot of success. And
Discover Mage, I think. Was
it Discover Mage?
Yeah, it was all. I think it was pretty much Discover Mage across the event, where they play, you know, they play Mana Worms for sure, but it
Yeah.
still, you know, has some top end in it.
Yeah. So Mage definitely was performing well, and then surprisingly, N'Zoth Paladin, just an even greedier Paladin, was beating the control Pallies that everybody, you know, has known on the ladder for the last week and a half. So that was a little nuance, and N'Zoth Paladin is just a throwback to last year, because N'Zoth Paladin was the strongest thing last year at DreamHack, so it was pretty funny to have that come back.
I mean, I can't complain. I personally loved seeing that, because like the worst part too is that Dog's lineup was so well set up.
It was
to just go through the brackets, and then up Dog comes in the top 8 against Shoop, and Shoop is just like, "Oh, you've got greedy decks. I've got the greediest decks." And Dog had no idea, and he's just like, "Well, I guess your greedy deck against my greedy deck, the greediest wins." And here's Shoop, who just goes, "I've got Tyrion, Stonehill Defenders. We're just landing those extra cards." And then, damn, N'Zoth comes down. Cairn comes back. Everything went wrong for Dog. His lineup was good against aggro, and he targeted hard. But it turns out that most people who performed well were playing, you know, a decent amount of control decks. And those control decks were not stuff that Dog was equipped to beat. I mean, Hungry Crabs and Paladin, clearly he's targeting the Murloc archetype.
Double
double
crab.
Hungry Crab
That
in
was
his
completely
control
worthless
pally
against Shoop. Yeah,
So
It was
it was
tough.
interesting.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch it, but I'm just looking at the N'Zoth right now, and it's the greediest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like,
Oh, yeah,
Ragnaros, Tyrion, double Spike Rested, double Ivory Knight, Ken, Elise. This is insane.
At least the Trailblazer and Paladin. Let's just stop here for a second and just appreciate the greed of that deck. Now, granted, there were a few times where the pack came in to save the day, where, you know, Dog or other players could have won, and then, you know, King Mosh, for instance, did work. But it's one of those things where the deck is so slow, and in Last Hero Standing, that can work because you're able to target decks, because you play a deck, it loses, and then you know what you have to beat, and suddenly it seemed like your best shot is a really greedy deck. You're bringing out the N'Zoth Paladin. And I want to say that the awesomeness of DreamHack really came down to the format. I think currently, especially, the format lends itself much better to counterplay, because every single deck seems to have, you know, a matchup it's willing to go up against. And a variety of decks can do the same job. Like, there are many control decks that can beat an aggro deck, or, you know, be greeded up to the point of beating another control. So it's really just about counterplay in that format. And I think Conquest right now sucks. Like, it's just really, really dull to look at.
Yeah,
There are only so many good decks that are good across the board.
No, that's true. That's definitely true. But it was refreshing, and again, I think it made out to be an excellent tournament because of that. Every time TJ got on screen, by the way, I was just like, man, that guy is like the memer. He's starting to rank up in Hearthstone memery. Like, maybe even passing Eloise very, very soon.
He's a fantastic host, though. Honestly, like, he basically did not cast an entire game of the weekend because we needed a host, and then his voice started running out. So he was like, you know what?
Oh, did he
really
really?
Cast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was starting to run out yet. Some issues towards the end, but and some people were like, "Oh, TJ looks drunk. Is he drunk? He's slurring his words." Yeah, well, his mouth is, you know, having to operate. He's trying to push his voice out, so his tongue's always in the way, and it was kind of funny.
Okay. Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. All right, overall, though, good job from DreamHack again for an excellent tournament. And I mean, it's one of the best ones we've had so far, like land-wise, outside of HCT. And it's pretty rare these days. You know, we get a chance to have third parties do some great tournaments. Not you know, much less a Swiss tournament. Definitely great. All right, well, why don't we move on to our Mage Spotlight? That's what we're doing today. And for those of you wondering what are these spotlights? The last couple of weeks we've been spotlighting a certain class, and figured, you know, with Ngoro coming out, it'd be fun to do the same with all the 9 classes. We'll eventually get to them all. But today was the Mage, given that I felt like the Mage was very, very strong this weekend. And lots of people have been playing different versions of it and having, you know, levels of success. At DreamHack, we actually saw a secret Mage in the quarters and the semifinals, I believe. And then we saw like Shoop's Mage, which is or just more of the Discover Mage that Noxious was talking about from a lot of the Tempo Storm players. And then, of course, on ladder, at least, I don't know if we saw it towards the end of the tournament. We've been seeing the control mage that has Medivh and things like that. So we're going to be talking about all those decks one at a time. But why don't we start with Shoop's control deck, which, by the way, this is going to be the deck of the week, too. So for those of you that participate in the Patreon deck of the week, we're going to be playing this one. But take a look at this. I'm sure you guys have seen this many, many times on ladder. So, yeah, what do you guys think of the deck generally, and maybe what are some of the key cards?
I mean, I've seen this on ladder way more than I thought I would. Like when I heard that this had got rank 1 legend, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Guys made this deck, got rank 1 legend with it, and then suddenly it was just everywhere. Like, and looking at the deck list, like the amount of one-offs. Yeah. To me, it just makes it look like a bad deck. But it just, I just get crushed by it over and over again.
Right. No, generally having one-ofs, which I mean, outside of Kazakh, Reno and Kazakh's decks are not your typical way of building decks, right? Because if you have a good card, you're going to put 2 of them in. You're not going to put just 1 of them in.
But here's the thing, though, about one-ofs. If I can discover 17 cards during the game, maybe the one-ofs don't matter much, now. Right? I'm exaggerating, but it's like you can get so many copies of things that you need. That oftentimes the fact that you have a few one-ofs is just covering an extra angle that that you need to work with. So.
Yeah, and just to sum it up for folks listening, it's double Mana Worm, double Arcanologist, a Thalanos, double Bolt, double Valet, double Glyph, double Intellect, and Gluttonous Ooze, 1 Ice Barrier, 2 blocks, 2 Cabal Couriers, 1 Potion, 2 Fireballs, 1 Polymorph, 1 Meteor, 1 Fireland or 2 Fireland Portals, 1 Flame Strike, 1 Medivh, yes, and 1 Alexstrasza and 1 Pyroblast. I just have to say, it like warms my heart so much that a viable deck has Medivh in it, and that Medivh doesn't get screwed by a lot of warriors being played and a lot of paladins and a shaman. And I don't know if this was intended by Blizzard or not, but the fact that Galaka exists, I think, has opened up the door a little bit more for Medivh to be played, at least prior to Medivh being a factor, as to why maybe people play Ooze. But people have shied away from Ooze because they didn't feel like they needed to kill weapons as much as killing pirates and getting tempo right from the start. So it's just nice to actually have Medivh in because I freaking love that card. And then, I've always played it and tried to play it in Kazakh's decks and things, and they've always just been killed because of pirates, pirate warriors. So
Medivh does so much work as well because a lot of the time you're against the deck and you treat it like a freeze mage. You're like, okay, I'll have an answer to the Alex, make sure I can heal after the Alex. And then suddenly Medivh comes out and they're getting flame strikes and 7 mana minions, and you're like, wait, I can't deal with all this value.
Yeah, I mean, Medivh, the body doesn't even matter as much. It's really Atiesh, right? And getting the Fireland Portal and all these things behind it. That's
and Pyroblast.
So Pyroblast. Get that Ultrasaur on the board, baby. Yeah, Noxious, what do you think of this deck?
I think it's got to be one of the most elegantly built decks I've ever seen. So Reynad had a similar version in the event.
Yep.
And, I don't think he was running Polymorph and Volcanic Potion. Instead, he had the 2 Babbling Books. And I'm way in favor of cutting the books and just including an answer to Tyrion, which is literally everywhere, and an answer to Aggro, which is literally everywhere. It's funny to say both things in the same sentence because they seem polar opposites, but no, the same deck has Tyrion and a lot of aggression. So having the extra AoE is fantastic. I love the way the deck is built. And, we were like, oh, one-off Flame Strike, that seems bad. Well, yeah, but if I have Meteor in the deck, do I really have 1 Flame Strike or 2? Like, doesn't it just eventually double up as 1? So Meteor is covering a cool, like, 2-pronged removal. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, let's talk about Meteor. I think that's another card that, watching the tournament, I was like, wow, that card is actually performing really, really well. And I've always viewed it as more of an overkill type of card, therefore didn't want to run it. But I mean, there are moments. I mean, there's sometimes you just play it on something small just because you want tempo, right? And you're trying to win in that fashion. But even from a late game standpoint, God, that 15 damage literally kills everything. And sometimes that's all you need to be able to push that last bit of damage as a mage.
Yeah, I mean, Spiker's Steed is a big deal.
Mhm.
Taunt Warrior having 4/8, it's like I don't want to spend a fireball, a ping, and an extra turn on this.
That's a good point.
So just being like killing primordial drakes is a huge deal, and I don't know. I feel like people underestimated it a lot in terms of playability. It's just that Flame Lance was bad because it was often, overkill, but it only ever hit one guy. So you played it as spot removal. Instead of throwing a fireball, you had a spot removal, but it felt worse than Polymorph. But on the flip side, what you can do is play Meteor and have AoE bundled in with a Flame Lance. That's just beautiful. That is insane. If Flame Lance dealt 8 and 3 to adjacent ones, would be like, whoa, explosive shot, stop right there. But now we have Meteor and we're like, this card is bad or it's not that good. Oh, it's a fantastic.
That's a good point too. Yeah, compare this to explosive shot, it's pretty laughable.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? So,
what was that, Jackie?
I was thinking you can also kind of, because it's in the kind of same slot as Blizzard in Mage,
Yeah.
but it's so much more like versatile than you can deal with things like if you have like an Inner Fire Priest going on one minion or Taunt Warrior, but then at the same time, if you've got a Hunter building a bit of a board or a Murloc Paladin building a bit of a board, it can just deal with so many different situations. It's
It actually
fantastic. In fact, I think there's even 2 of it in this deck.
Oh, really? Okay. It actually kills things instead of freezes it.
Yeah. You actually could cut Flame Strike for it. The issue that I've had with the thing is that Flame Strike actually kills Murlocs. Because the thing with Meteor is that it will kill like one target and then damage the stuff on the side. But Flame Strike just kills all the Murlocs. Because if they have like 2/3/3s, let's say, which is the double War Leader, typically, you just go Flame Strike and that'll clean both of them up with the rest of the Murlocs that are often not buffed enough to survive. It deals with just about every board in the game once you've softened it up. And I don't know how I feel about Blizzard, anymore. It's just so tough to say. We've seen some people play it.
If you're not
but
playing,
I feel like it's been worse than Double Meteor, for instance. Like if I have the choice.
well, if you're playing Blizzard, you have to play Doomsayers, and I think you have to play
right.
more
And it's another deck. It's like just saying
it's just
built. It's a freeze mage.
Right. Just
yeah.
saying
I
this
mean,
version.
Blizzard's better for like because you can use it as a stall as well as a clear. Whereas like in this deck, you have the like if your opponent has a load of 1/1s, you have Volcanic Potion to do the job.
Yeah, this deck is geared to have that option of winning purely by early tempo and just trying to finish games that way. And we saw Reyna do that. We saw Reyna ping phase like super early on and things like that, just because he was planning to finish games that way. So a little bit different than the freeze mage. How did they choose 15, by the way? Like, that just keeps bothering me. Like, why did they choose 15?
Ultra Zor,
damage?
dude.
Is it literally just
Ultra
Zor is like 12. Wait, is it 15? It's
14.
It's 14.
So
It's 14.
It's exactly one above. They're like, because the flavor text of Meteor reads, if you positively absolutely need to kill all dinosaurs. And that is literally the biggest dinosaur they put in. So they're like, all right, guys, let's make it the biggest thing we can. Which I thought was fucking amazing.
All right. I just that it's always like bothering me. Why exactly did they choose 15?
It's a nerf to Wrathguard.
You can also kill an Osrook after 2 elementals.
Good point.
Only Jackie's seen that.
And I'm pretty sure it's the average health total of Osrook too.
Yeah, it probably is, to be honest.
It's got to be 15 specifically. Adding to the amazingness of Osrook for all those of you who
it's 15 or 25, man. one of
bad
those
card, bro.
Yeah, it's seriously a bad card. All right, well, why don't we let's move on to a different version of the mage here, and we'll go with
also
let's see.
I just want to pause and say, this is what the list that Shoop won with, but it is attributed to Gunther Mage. It is Gunther that came up with the first list, I believe.
Good point.
And he even made the modification of cutting out the books for Poly and Volcanic Potion. So credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been taking this deck and having great success with it.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about secret mages, and Jackie actually has one too. So we've got one from let's see, Snuxy, and then we got one from Jackie here. Let me pull the one Jackie has up here. Here we go. All right, so the one that let's see, Jackie has is on the right. Wait,
that's the wrong guy.
No, that can't be.
No, that's the wrong one. No, that's not the wrong one. That looks exactly the same. All right, let's talk about Snuxy's deck, and then I'll bring yours up here in a second. Yeah.
I mean, I actually think Secret Mage is pretty slightly underrated right now because possibly because of the strength of some of the slower mage decks. How Freeze Mage is seeing a lot of play, and this Gunther Mage is seeing a lot of play. But Secret Mage is, not to be sniffed at. It can, if you get a good start, you can literally just explode and kill people extremely early on.
And I think in kind of talking about them, it's double book, double lackey, double worm, double archaeologist, double bolt, double valets. These are doubles, guys. Not that many singles here. Double counterspell, one block, double Kirantor, double entities, double one polymorph, one spellbender, double arcanist, double fireball, double crystal runner, and one firelens portal. And that's Noxious. Jackie's has 15. He's got straight 15 different cards, all doubles. I think the difference is you don't run Spellbender and you don't run Potion of Polymorph.
Or Ice Block or Fireless.
Or Ice
or
Block,
Ice Block or
it's
or
pure
Fireless
tempo.
Portals. Yeah, it's
right?
pure tempo. So Jackie's has, let's see, you have double Arcane Intellect for draw, just to keeping things going, and then double Mana Bind. Yeah, so that you can potentially copy some of the removal spells, which in turn can just put pressure on their face too, right? So yeah, overall, I think that one of the things I've noticed when I'm playing against these decks is the 3 health on some of those early minions is so good. Is so good against a lot of classes because a lot of classes do 2 damage to a lot of things, and that Arcanologist or that Mana Worm, and then the Valet always comes a little bit later just to really swing board. It's so hard to remove those things, and they just continue tempo because of that.
Yeah. I mean, it crushes things like a Quest Rogue where they have. Eventually, they get their quest, but for the first few turns, they're just playing really weak bodies, and you can just get your 3 health Mana Worms, and basically Mana Worm, just treat Mana Worm like Tunnel Trog and crush stuff, and also counterspelling the Rogue quest is my favorite thing.
Oh god, that is the
That's gotta
best
feel so
thing
good
to do.
Yeah.
Actually, mana binding it can't be too bad either in some cases.
Yeah.
Might work.
Nice.
If you're ahead on the board, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And people wondering like, what? How do you counter Quest Row or counter spell it? If you get Cabal Lackey, you can do it, and you have 2 of them, so you got double chance of doing it. It's good.
Yeah,
stuff.
and Ethereal Arcanist is one of these cards that's just been around forever, but there's never been enough secret synergy cards for it to see play. But in this deck, it legitimately feels very strong because of the amount of secrets you have and the Arcanologist to consistently draw secrets. Like, it's pretty easy to get value out of it, and it can get very scary pretty quick.
Yeah, I've played that card many times in the past and been wanting so badly for it to be, good. Usually only worked with Ice Block in the past, just because Ice Block, you can't pop very early. But nowadays I think it's a bit better. What do you think, Noxious?
I mean, I'll say one thing is that this deck's biggest advantage is that it's running very different secrets, and the surprise factor is worth a lot. I mean, when they play around Counterspell and it's not Counterspell, and they play around Ice Block and they don't attack because they're afraid, I've seen some people just not attack in certain circumstances. And while it's a mistake, because you're on the side of the guy who's got the secret, it's a lot tougher to make that call when you're the guy attacking. And so I think the power of the deck is the information war that's always being waged in Hearthstone, and you're winning it like it's not even close.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think any mistake, right? It's good to give your opponent decisions, and especially a decision if they make it wrong, it ends up being a very huge swing for you. Like a mirror entity mistake. I mean, that's just devastating to your opponent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the nicest things about it, because often you have the kind of they can do a spell or a minion, and you're either going to have counterspell or mirror entity, and it's sometimes they have to make weaker plays to play around your secrets, or they can just take a gamble and potentially get really punished. So secrets are fantastic.
So what do you think about Crystal Runner? Because that was a card that a lot of people, when reviewing the cards initially, thought was going. It's basically a Things from Below. Right? It's the Mage 5/5 that doesn't have taunt, but it's still the 5/5 that you get for almost free, if not close to free. Thoughts on this initially, especially in this deck?
Great. Like if you,
How much?
I mean,
That
if
about sums
When do
it
you
up.
usually play it? When do you usually play it? I guess.
like 4-mana 5/5 is obviously good, but it's pretty easy to get a 2-mana 5/5. Like a lot of the time I've had on turn 5 just Secret into Cabal Crystal Runner, which is like super good, or like Kirin Tormage Secret and Cabal Crystal Runner on turn 5, which is ridiculous. And very often just 0 mana. Like the fact that you can get a secret on turn 1 with Cabal Lackey, and I mean I have to say the Arcanologist is just MVP.
Yeah, Arcanologist
Just
is
the best, mate. Insane.
Yeah, agreed.
So I'll be devil's advocate and say this card, not this card, but like the general power of the deck is very much high roll based. And this card is gonna do disgusting work, you know, when you get those Cabal Lackeys early, like especially Cabal Lackey. I think that card just carries the Crystal Runner to no end. You know, you can get turns where you just go turn 1 Cabal Lackey Secret, turn 2 Glyph into Coin Secret, into turn 3 Secret Cabal Crystal Runner, and then it's just disgusting. But there are turns where, like, there are games where it's just an awkward 4-mana 5/5, and those are much less powerful, clearly, and
Yeah.
just something to keep in mind, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a powerful card, but it's not the answer to everything.
How does Mana Bind work out for you, Jackie? Like, what are some kind of cool instances of you getting something that turns the game or really gives you a huge advantage?
I mean, quests are a good example. Mainly Rogue Quest, because that seems to be one of the most common quest decks.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, I'm using it on turn 3 with like a, say, Coin, Kirin Tormage, Mana Bind is a very common play. So very common get things like an Arcane Intellect or an Animal Companion, which is very like a 0-mana Animal Companion. It's great. I mean,
nice.
obviously you've played the Secret, and you haven't even had to play the Secret for 3 mana because you played it for free with Lackey or Kirin Tormage. So the tempo you gain from that is very good.
Yeah, definitely good stuff there. Also, let's see. I'm trying to see what other key card here. Babbling Book too, right? I mean, Babbling Book surprisingly is I think important in this deck, given that you can draw just an extra spell. Who knows what that spell is? But I think generally getting this spell in this type of deck seems to work out better than, maybe your average mage deck.
Yeah, because there's so many secrets you can get, right? Like, it's the same reason. I mean, that's the thing with Babbling Book, is it's only good when you're playing a tempo deck, is the way I look at it. Like, if you're playing any type of combo-ish play, it's usually pretty terrible. But if you're going for tempo, you have like one more 1-drop that's okay and playable.
Well,
I don't know, man.
secrets aren't bad for you in this deck, where a lot of
No,
times
they're
in
not.
other
But
decks,
sometimes
secrets
they
are.
can be. Honestly, like, this deck with that ice block runs into some issues if you don't pick up Frostbolts early against some, hyper aggro decks like Pirate Warrior, for instance. That's been a problem before, as you might imagine. So, like, I love Counterspell. There are times where the correct play is to just hold on to it forever, which is weird because you'd love to just play something with your Lackey because you can. The upside is that very often when you're going Lackey into Secret, you have Medivh's Valley to follow up. So unless they trigger your Secret right away, you can just get the extra 3 damage to seize the early board, and that's fantastic.
It's amazing how many times Valet goes to face when I play against it. It's like,
Yeah, sure.
it's like, totally forgot about that. Why are you hitting me in the face with that? You're not supposed to hit me in the face. But yeah, Tempo Mage, give it a try, guys. It got really far in the tournament too. Like, I think I forget who exactly ran it. There was somebody that played Reynad that was
Cat
running
Destroyer.
Cat
It was
Destroyer, yes.
Yeah.
Cat Destroyer did really well with it. So, okay, next up we've got a Kazakus mage that I think Tice was playing on stream one day. So, of course, if Tice plays it, then everybody starts playing it, 24 hours later. So, yeah, this is an elemental. Has at least an elemental flavor to it, just so you can do things. I mean, he plays things like Pyros, and even Flame Geysers, and just really leveraging that. Obviously, you got the things that you, of course, would play if you play an elemental like Servant of Kalamos and Blaze Caller too. But mixed into this is a lot of the other stuff that we talked about. Medivh, like in the control version, Medivh, just all the spells you can imagine, Fireland Portal and the Flame Strike, and no Pyroblast actually in this. But
You don't have room.
Yeah, there's no room for it. A little bit of precautionary measures against aggro like Tar Creepers and Gluttonous Ooze, as well as Earth and Ring Farseer, just to heal just a little bit. Overall, what do you guys think of Kazakus Mage, or especially Elemental Kazakus Mage? Is it good?
I don't buy it. I buy it 0%, but it's fun.
0%. All right.
Like 0%.
Yeah, I mean, I tried it a little bit, but I was trying a more aggressive, like more of a tempo, like trying to get tempo out of like obviously Kazakus and Solia, but I don't think, I don't know. I think if Kazakus is going to see play, I think Priest is just the place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just don't think
something healing.
Right. I kind of look at this and I'm like, I don't know if it's actually more greedy than the control one that we saw earlier. And then I don't even think it's, it's not faster than anything we've seen with the other ones. So it's something kind of just in between there. And I just think the healing, or just what you get from Kazakus, like Kazakus by itself now isn't that powerful, or it doesn't feel that powerful anymore.
Yeah, you can't get like the ultimate value from brands. So it's like if you're going to be playing it, you're most of the time just going to be going Kazakus on 4 into spell on 5 to go for tempo.
Yeah.
Rather than the ultimate value kind of line.
And then maybe you get like, I don't know, you get a 10 drop on the Atiesh and you can get something out of that. But
that's the point.
Yeah. People are running Fire Blast. Yes.
I mean, Solia with the 10-man spell is still going to be insanely good. But
that's true.
It's pretty hard to pull off.
I mean, Discover Mage sometimes just gets it. Like you discover Solia and you just win the game straight up. It's just like, it's something that has happened before. I'm just not sure if it's ever worth making a deck around, I guess, is the point. Like I don't
really
know.
See that, right? So that's about the last deck that I wanted us to talk about. We're not talking about Quest Mage at all, because there's just nothing that's been that good. We had Exodium Mage for a while, and you have something, Noxious?
So I don't have a deck list specifically that works anymore, because I'm not sure there's anything that works with that like long term. But AP Drop was piloting a Quest Mage for the longest time. And I mean, he probably stopped at some point. And then he swapped to like an Elemental Temple Rogue, but he was running that archetype and did pretty well with it, honestly, compared to what I was anticipating. Really, I thought the Quest Mage was just straight up unplayable, but he got to something like, he maintained top 300 after being like top 50. It was top 50, and then eventually started dumpstering and said, you know what, this deck is.
I mean, getting to top 50,
but it won't work.
Yeah, getting the top 50 even for a period of time is pretty good.
That's good, yeah. I mean, early in the season, he just did amazingly well with it. Just climbed to Legend straight up with the Giants version. I mean, that was great, but
yeah, it's tough. I mean, Time Warp again, it would be broken if it was easy to get. So it's good that it's a bit out of reach. That's not to say that it will be that it won't be out of reach after another expansion, but we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those cards that Blizzard have to kind of be careful with and make, because it can be pretty uninteractive.
But I mean, you want to talk about uninteractive? I raise you Taunt Warrior.
Taunt Warrior?
People say, "Oh, it's a super interactive deck," and what I think is, it gives you the illusion your decisions matter until you die after 30 minutes. Like, it's the most unfun thing I've ever seen. And honestly, dude, not to harp on Dreamhack, but like that one event is the reason to me that deck is the most toxic thing in the game. No one likes playing it. No one likes playing against it. No one likes watching it. No one likes casting it. No one likes it. That thing is just the death of me.
Wow.
And I've never, I swear.
That's Taunt Warrior hate coming up.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like, that deck just has everything wrong going for it in every respect. I cannot believe that deck. I can't.
At least people, I agree with some of those things that you're saying. But
I'm exaggerating, maybe, but I don't know.
But at least that deck, there's a way to play around it and get the better end of it. It's not straightforward. I mean, it does take a bit of finessing to beat it in a consistent manner. But there's a way to beat it. You know what I mean? It's not.
Sure.
It's not like Shaman was, where it's ridiculously oppressive and great. But at the end of games, it's always 50-50. It's always just some kind of 1 in 3, 1 in 2 rolls that either when you
or 1 in 4 with the last Dirty Rat where they pull your Nazoth. That's super fun interaction. It's just...
that's the part that's more frustrating than the Sulfuris. But Jackie, what do you think of that Taunt Warrior?
Taunt Warrior, I've had problems with it at times, but then there's a lot of decks that do just crush it. So
That's kind of how I
Okay,
feel.
you just play like a greedy hunter deck, or I've actually been playing recently. I've been playing a Burgle Rogue, but it's like a super greedy Burgle Rogue, and it's like the most fun thing ever, and it just crushes Quest Warrior.
Peddler too, or no?
Yeah, Peddler. I've been playing
too?
Thistletea,
Oh my
the whole
God.
Elise, and then Thistletea the pack, like full greed, like next level greed.
And then it's Quest Rogue.
Fantastic.
It's Quest Rogue, Greedy Rogue.
That's the thing that bothers me so
Yeah.
much is that like you tech against the deck and then you immediately find the counterplay. It's just I don't know,
Yeah.
like the metagame is very polarized in many ways, right? That's the only thing I have to say against it. Otherwise, I love the game.
Yeah, I mean, the
It's quite
metagame though
safe.
is definitely more exciting than it's been for a while. Like the
Oh,
metagame
yeah.
is great right now. I'm loving Hearthstone right now.
So here's a question for you: how many times have you had, and it's happened one time to me, just like literally one. How many times have you had it where you're waiting on turn one to see if they play the quest, and they don't play the quest, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like Miracle Rogue or something like that. So you're like totally playing for Miracle Rogue, and then they quest you later, and then you get completely fucked, and you're like, oh shit, I just got totally kicked there. Holy crap!
Totally
Like,
quested.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. How many times has that actually happened to you? Any class quest where you just got completely tricked? You played the first 3 turns completely differently and gotten screwed.
I mean, I've had that happen with Warrior only, like, because the thing is, one of the unknown facts about Taunt Warrior is that keeping the quest isn't really
That's normal, pretty normal. right?
necessary.
Yeah.
Like, it's far from.
Oh,
mandatory.
you're talking about like mulliganing it.
Yeah, mulliganing
wow,
again. Like
okay.
when they're mulliganing that quest all the time, right? I'm not crazy here. Please,
Against
Jackie,
aggro.
No,
help.
I mean, if you're against aggro,
Yeah.
if, you,
Yeah.
Please help.
if you're
Yeah.
against aggro, you just don't want the quest, right? And so you get rid of the
Yeah.
quest, and then later in the game you just draw it randomly. But then if you're against a slower, I'm assuming if you're against a slower deck, you do want to keep the quest.
I mean, if you're against a
Yeah,
war,
hero
you're playing
bonus.
warrior. Do you drop the quest or keep the quest? Right? Oh man, I think you always keep the quest at least. Hold it. You can hold it. You can hold it for 2 or 3 turns with quests.
I mean, I think if you're against something like Druid, where you're pretty confident they're going to be aggro, I think you just get rid of the quest. If you're against something like Priest, I think you keep the quest. I think it varies on different classes. Like Hunter, you just get rid of the quest.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, Hunter's a
depends what
safe
you're
bet. there's no question what the Hunter is.
against. Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we move on and kind of complete our Mage Spotlight there. Again, guys, deck of the week. We're going to be doing Shoop's or, who was it? Gunther's. Gunther's Discover Mage, I believe it's called, or that type of control mage. I'll be posting it on the Patreon page, so definitely check that out. But while we're speaking of that, I want to give a quick shout out to some folks on iTunes as well as our patrons on our Patreon page. Those of you listening on audio, if you didn't know, you, or at least folks that are watching, didn't know that we were available on audio, you can find us on iTunes as well as Google Play and SoundCloud. And there's been a few folks that have left us some nice 5-star ratings and some great, comments and feedback. And I want to give a shout out to them. Smorty22, watching you, Joshua2206, and Saber or Poison Saber. Thanks so much for those kind words as well as helping us out. Those of you that do listen to it and haven't left us any ratings, it helps out quite a bit for people to find Value Town whenever they're searching for Hearthstone podcasts if you do that. So it only takes like a minute, maybe even less than a minute. Just go and, on your iTunes and find Hearthstone, and you can do that. Also, I want to give a shout out to our patrons, of course. They are the ones that keep this show going and the foundation of, support for this show. And, we would definitely want to give some love every single week. Big shout out to Mike T and Richard S., our legendary producers, as well as a few others. Albert, welcome back. Bob K, Nathan J, 2-Kid, Dr. Rurnat, Andrew R, Eric L, Eugene L, and Sasha G. And those of you that want to maybe check it out, you can go to patreon.com/valuetown. You enjoy the show, want the show to continue going on indefinitely. Think about, throwing us a pledge here and there. And any little thing counts, guys. Any little thing will help us out a great deal. It's set up to be per episode. So you want to throw a quarter, you want to throw $1, that would help us out in a big way. So check that out for sure if you do love the show. And lastly, of course, we've got our sponsor again, Ting. Just another quick word about Ting. They're a great LTE nationwide network that leverages the T-Mobile and Sprint networks. And you can find out more about it on value.ting.com. But they have this cool commercial that we always play. So check this out, guys. We'll be right back. Pretty cool commercial.